Hey there, welcome to episode 118 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is some of the G.I. Joe classified 6-inch action figures. Now, I had previously done a video where I covered all of Wave 1, and that the 5 or 6 figures that were included in Wave 1. So that was Duke, Roadblock, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Destro, I believe, were all the figures there. So I got all those figures kind of in one fell swoop, and I reviewed them all together. I also had the Hasbro exclusive Snake Eyes, which had a different paint deco and had some extra weapons, so I reviewed him in that video as well. I've since got the figures from Wave 2, although I don't think I bought them all at the same time, so they probably popped up in different videos. So I had Cobra Commander, and then I had Gung Ho, and then I had the Red Ninja. So I've talked about all those guys at different points as well. So the figures I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to call it Wave 3, I guess. Although these figures didn't necessarily all come out at the same time. Maybe this would be considered Wave 3 and 4, or Wave 2.5. It was kind of staggered the way these figures were released. So the figures I want to talk about are the third version of Cobra Commander. So I've already showed you the standard, like, dark blue version. That's the regular retail release. And then Hasbro released what they call their Regal variant, which was the same figure in kind of a brighter blue and more gold accents and stuff. So we've looked at that. So now what I have is what they call, I believe it's Supreme Cobra Commander. I might be having that name wrong. But so this is like a new black and gold deco of that same Cobra Commander, but he does have some new accessories and a new cape. So we'll take a look at him. Also, there is the Cobra Trooper, which I have a few of these guys right here. So I'm pretty excited about these guys, so we'll talk about them. And Zartan. So it was really, the Cobra Trooper and Zartan came up together as kind of a wave of just 2 figures. And then the next 2 figures that I have to talk about are Flint and Lady Jaye. So they came out together as basically a 2-figure wave, which maybe you could call Wave 4 if these guys are Wave 3. And then the other figure I want to talk about is the Amazon exclusive Arctic Mission Storm Shadow, which is basically a redo of the old Ninja Force Storm Shadow. So he doesn't really look like he's ready for an Arctic mission, but that's what they called it. So those are the 6 figures I have to show you. So yeah, we'll take a look at them. But before I do, I just want to talk a little bit about G.I. Joe Classified news. So I'm really excited about this line, and I wanted to be like a completist on this line from day one. That's why I bought the Hasbro exclusive Snake Eyes right off the bat. You know, I've got all 3 versions of Cobra Commander. I also have the repaint of Destro, the Pimp Daddy or the Prophet Destro or whatever. So yeah, I want to get them all. The only figures I don't have are the stupid Target exclusives Cobra Island figures. I live in Canada. We don't have Target. Usually Target exclusives show up at Toys R Us, which we still have here in Canada. However, those figures, I haven't heard of like basically anybody finding those figures. Some people maybe have ordered them online. But anyway, they're next to impossible to find. So, you know, I hear stories online about people in the U.S. going to Target over and over and over again and not being able to find them. So just imagine my frustration not even having a Target, and everybody's selling those figures for way above retail on the secondary market. So I'm missing the initially the Cobra Trooper they put out, and then the name was a little different. I think this guy's Cobra Trooper, the other one was Cobra Infantry. That one has a couple of extra accessories and a slightly different paint job. I am pissed that I don't have that figure, but the fact that they released this version, which is pretty close, I can probably get over it. The other figures I'm missing are Beachhead, Baroness, Firefly, and the Viper. So all those figures are Target exclusives. So right now I'm already missing basically a third of the available figures, which is very frustrating for somebody that wants to collect this line. My hope is that either those figures will become more readily available in the future, or at the very least we get maybe slight repaints that are more readily available. I'll still be annoyed that I don't have all the versions, but if all they do is, you know, with Beachhead, maybe he comes with one less gun, or maybe his green is a little bit darker, I'll probably be okay with that. But if they give me a completely different figure, I'll be really annoyed that I don't have the original ones. So those are all the classified figures so far. Now, they just recently announced some new ones, so I just want to talk about those. I was hoping that they were going to announce more figures in this kind of classic line, but when Hasbro had their little fan fest, like press conference the other week, all they showed us were new figures from the upcoming Snake Eyes live action movie, which I wasn't really surprised by, but still, I kind of wish we saw some figures from this line here. So what they showed us was a new version of Snake Eyes, and it looks pretty cool. It doesn't look very different from the Snake Eyes we already have, which I'm happy about. I don't think they should mess with Snake Eyes' look too much. One thing that's kind of cool about this figure is that he does have an unmasked head, which is not something we usually see with Snake Eyes because his face is supposed to be a mystery. So I'm pretty curious about how they're going to handle that in the movie. I don't know if they're going to show him maybe in flashbacks or at the start of the movie he'll have his normal handsome face as Henry Golding, the actor that's playing him, and then maybe he gets his face damaged, which is what his origin is in the comic books. So maybe, or maybe he just doesn't get a scarred face in this movie and he's always got his handsome face and he's taking his mask on and off. I don't know how they're going to handle it. But anyway, so we do get that unmasked Henry Golding head. So that's basically the one unique thing about that figure. Then we've got a Storm Shadow. Now this Storm Shadow is closer to the kind of the classic Storm Shadow look than the Arctic Missions one that I have here. But I still don't love it. Like, it's fine. It looks close enough to classic Storm Shadow. It's all white, pretty basic ninja gear. But I wish they had kind of just said, let's go with the classic look. Like, let's make him look like the original 1985 figure or whatever, or 84. Yeah, I just don't... Like, it's okay. And I also don't like how it's a little off-white. You'll see that with the Arctic Mission Storm Shadow that I'm going to show you shortly, is that he's not white. He's kind of cream colored, which I find kind of weird. And this one here looks to be pretty much all cream colored as well. I don't love that. I'd rather it just be a nice stark white, but I don't know. Hopefully it looks cool when you get it in hand. Another one of the figures is Scarlet. Now this figure seems fine. It looks pretty similar to the Scarlet we've already got in the classified line as far as the costume goes. I'll get this figure. It's probably the one I'm least excited about of these movie figures that they've shown, just because it is so close to the regular one. I'm not familiar with the actress that's playing her. I assume this figure looks like the actress, and she looks the part, so I'm fine with this figure, but again, not that exciting. Next up, we have the Baroness. So I'm happy that I'm probably going to be able to get my hands on this Baroness relatively easily, because I assume these figures will be regular retail releases. But I will not be happy if this is the only Baroness that I get, because maybe they'll choose to say, well, now fans can get this Baroness, so we don't need to make more versions of that one that we released at Target last year. Because the one at Target looks fantastic. It looks like a nice classic Baroness. That's what I want in my collection. If they decide to re-release that one again with maybe some slight paint variations, because I think the Target one has some like gold accents here and there. If they want to make her all black or something, I'm fine with that. But I want that figure. This movie figure looks nice. It seems to look like the actress. The costume is all black with the glasses. They've done a very good job of recreating Baroness's outfit. But I don't just want a movie Baroness. I need a comic book cartoon, Baroness in my collection. And then the last character they showed is a seemingly brand new character named Akiko. So she's just some martial arts chick. She looks like she could have very easily have been Jinx, but and who knows, maybe she still will be. The figure looks fine, but looks kind of bland. Like, this isn't the kind of thing I don't think people are going to want to run out and buy this just based on its look. Maybe if she's really cool in the movie, people will get more excited about this figure. But as it stands, I think it's kind of just pretty plain looking. And if she ends up just being, a not very important character, just kind of somebody that's around, this one will probably be a peg warmer. Anyway, so those are the G.I. Joes they showed us. Now, there have been some leaks of this Major Blood figure, which is in the classic, like, kind of comic book style. So I'm excited about Major Blood, but it appears he's going to be another Target exclusive Cobra Island figure. So why even bother getting excited about it? Because chances are I will never see it. So that sucks. Anyway, let's get into taking a look at these 6 new G.I. Joe classified figures. So the first figure I want to talk about is the Cobra Trooper. So I got 2 of these guys that I ordered online from Big Bad Toy Store, and they arrived about a month ago. And then a couple of weeks after that, I actually found one in a Walmart, and I couldn't resist but buying a third one. So here they are, all 3 of them opened up. Now, before I take a look at the details and the articulation of these guys, I do just want to quickly jump to some footage that I shot when I got my first 2 figures in the mail. Now, I'm really excited about this figure here. Honestly, this new 6-inch G.I. Joe classified line is probably the toy line that I'm most excited for these days. They've been coming out relatively fast, but the waves are all pretty small, of only a couple of figures each time. So my collection feels like it's growing rather slowly. Anyway, the Cobra Trooper is an integral part of G.I. Joe. You know, he's the backbone of Cobra's forces. So I was really kind of frustrated and pissed off when they released this figure as an exclusive at Target, because we don't have any Targets in my area, so it was not an option for me to find it anywhere else. And even people that were around Targets couldn't seem to find them. They would sell out like instantly. To this day, I see a lot of frustrated people online that can't find them. So it was only a couple of months later, but then Hasbro announced they were going to release this figure at regular retail. The only difference is that it's a couple accessories short. It's missing this. There was an armband that was available on the Target exclusive, and I think maybe there was one other accessory. I would still like that alternate version, just because I'm kind of a completist when it comes to G.I. Joes, but considering those minor changes, I'm okay, I suppose, if I never get that figure. I got this guy, and I like him so much, I bought him twice. And who knows, I'll probably end up with a bunch more of these things before my collection is done. I was actually tempted to order like 4 or 5 of these things, but I just know from experience that they will probably re-release this figure with all kinds of slight variations of their own. Like maybe he'll have a silver emblem, and then he'll have a different vest, and maybe he'll have a different skin tone, and I'll end up buying all those different versions, and I'll probably end up with a nice little army at some point anyway, so I didn't want to go crazy buying a whole bunch of these guys right off the bat. But they look incredible. I love that they have a removable helmet. He's got a nice little mix of accessories, a couple of pistols, a gun, and a knife there. Some really nice artwork there. More artwork on the side. Looks really cool. That's the standard artwork we've seen on all the G.I. Joe classified packaging. So yeah, really excited to open this guy and his identical twin. Okay, so that was the figures inside of the box. Now we're going to take a look at them outside of the packaging. Now, I do just want to mention a couple of the things I said in that packaging segment. I actually had a little bit wrong. So I had mentioned that the only differences between this figure and the Cobra Island figure was a change of accessories. So that is a pretty big difference in the fact that the Cobra Island figure had an armband that you could slide up over their arm, and that would signify a rank. So let's just say you bought that figure 2 or 3 times. You could have one with the rank on the left arm, one with on the right arm, one without a rank at all. So like that's some way that you could diversify your ranks. Also, the other Cobra Trooper had a pair of goggles. So you could put the goggles over his eyes, and it gave him this kind of snake-like look. Or you could put them sitting on top of his helmet, the way Vipers typically wear their goggles. Or you could just choose not to give him the goggles at all. So that's another way you could buy the exact same figure 3 times, and you could make it look like different figures. So it's kind of a bummer we don't get those accessories. However, if that was the only difference, I could live with it. But if I put up a side-by-side here, you'll actually see there's quite a bit of paint deco difference as well. So in this trooper here, like he's got all this blue on blue. So like these patches are blue, his knee pads are blue, his boots, like his shin guards there are blue, the vest is blue, all this like padding with the texture, that's all like a different shade of blue. On the helmet, blue on blue. The Cobra Island figure had all black, so it was black on blue. And for the most part, that looks pretty cool. Although I do find looking at the Cobra Island figure, the torso is almost maybe too black. I would have liked it better if maybe if like this portion was blue, but then this portion was black. So maybe a nice combination of the two. I don't really know which one I like better because I don't have the other one in hand to really compare, but I am quite happy with this Cobra Trooper. So as I mentioned, I ordered 2 of them right away. I got a third one a little while later, so I've got a nice little squad going here. But these three figures are identical. So let's take a look at them. So all that sculpted detail, you know, his boots look really nice, multiple textures and buckles and stuff in there. You can see the articulation on the ankle, so his foot goes back and forth and side to side. So he's got the swivel there. You know, the knees are double jointed, so he can get some really good coverage. Get his knee really far back there. Then he's got the so he's got a swivel at the top of his boot. He's got a swivel there mid thigh. Then with the his legs, he can do the splits. They can both go out. Then he swivels at the waist. Then at the arm, so he's got a nice good range of movement there. He's got a swivel there. He's got double jointed elbows there as well. So again, he can get that really good tight bend on his arm. He swivels and turns at the wrist. Like if you've been buying these classified figures, you know what you're getting. Similar to Marvel Legends, in some cases even better, because a lot of Marvel Legends still don't have the double jointed like knees and elbows and stuff. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about the articulation, but since this is the first figure in the video, I'll talk a little bit about it. So the head spins all around 360. You get that joint there so he can nod up and down. The neck as well, like just lots and lots of articulation there. Really great stuff. For accessories on this guy, so he's got the removable helmet as you just saw, and that fits really snug, which is nice. Sometimes these removable helmets can look really stupid, but that fits on him quite nicely. Doesn't come off. But at the same time, it's not hard to remove it either, so it's really nicely done. He's got this removable knife that just gets sheathed right there. That's solid black. He's got a little pistol here, also solid black. And that can be holstered right there. Holster's got a nice little Cobra logo on it. He's got another one of those pistols, the exact same. And that's holstered right back here. Now he doesn't have a backpack, but he does have a peg for a backpack, so you could add one. He also has these 2 extra pegs for storage on the back of his vest. And lastly, he comes with this like rifle. So lots of cool stuff, lots of great articulation. One thing I really like about this figure actually is the skin tone. Like I think with the Cobra Island figure, he's very obviously a Caucasian guy. But with this here, it's a little, and I don't know if you're picking it up on camera, but it's a little darker. He's definitely a darker complexion than the Cobra Island figure. And it kind of gives it a little bit more, you know, like you can almost choose what you want this guy to be. Like he could be like kind of a light-skinned African-American. He could be Latino, or he could just be a white guy. It kind of covers all those bases. Now, ideally, what I'd like to see, especially if they make more variations of this, is them to actually do different ethnicities that are obvious. But anyway, for a character like this, where people are going to want to army build them, it's kind of nice to have this kind of nondescript face on there. So yeah, very cool. So you see, I got the 3 of them. These guys I have displayed the same with all their weapons. Their little holstered pistols. They're carrying the rifle. With this guy here, I decided to display him differently. So he's holding his pistols, and then he's got his rifle just pegged into one of those extra spots on the back because the rifle has a little peg on it there. So that works out pretty cool. Now, as far as the look of these guys, I think they really nailed like what I'm looking for out of the classified line. I'm sure there's some people that want these things to be exact recreations of the figures they had when they were kids. And there's probably others that are bored of buying the same looking figures and they want something radically different. I think these figures are kind of a really nice blend of both. So like here is the original Cobra Trooper figure from 1982. And you can see how similar it is. He's blue with the black boots and knee pads and black mask, red Cobra logo. He's just a lot more simplified. But these guys, you can definitely see how they resemble him. Now we have got like lots of variations of this Cobra Trooper over the years. Here's one from the early 2000s. So again, He's still blue, and he's got like kind of the... Now this one, he's got kind of gray boots and gloves and things like that. He still has the removable helmet. So this is kind of similar to what we're seeing with the new classified figures. However, this one doesn't fit nearly as well. It looks a little ridiculous. It's a little oversized. Also in the 2000s, we got variations of this figure. So it's the exact same body, but with different heads. So you were able to get multi-packs of these troopers. And what's really nice is the heads were a little taller, because that guy's head, I guess, was criticized for being a little round. But you got different ethnicities. This guy's a little dusty here. But yeah, you get guys with blonde eyebrows and white eyebrows, and you got this African-American guy. So that was really cool that you had this variety of the troopers. Another variation we had, now this guy's broken in half, but here's a guy with the red balaclava, which is more like what we saw in some of the comic books. So this is a variation they could definitely do with the classified figures, give us something like this. In the more modern line, so this is the modern version of the Cobra Trooper. So you can see he's very similar to the 82 figure, except just a little more detailed. And he had a removable helmet. Now instead of an extra mask underneath, he's actually got a hairdo. So they could maybe do something like that too if they wanted. Some variations in the modern line. So here's one with given like the cartoon colors. So you could add some yellow web gear. So this guy, again, you could re-release him that way. Here's a variation that was from, I believe, the Renegades cartoon. So same idea, the helmet, the mask, the blue, and the black. Just slight variations on it. In the modern line, we even got the first female versions of the Cobra Trooper. So she's got her ponytail in the back there and everything. So if the classified line goes like really deep, we could end up with the same figure painted a dozen times over. Also, some of the vehicle drivers were the same figure, just in gray. We've had the same figure basically released in red. So I'm excited, but I'm also kind of dreading how many variations of this figure I'm going to end up buying over time. But yeah, I absolutely love this figure. Highly recommended. Yeah, I'd say get at least a couple of them. I think 3 is a good number to have a nice little squad. And it'll probably only grow from there as the variations are released. So there you go, Cobra Trooper. Now here's another brand new G.I. Joe classified figure. This is Zartan, which is the Master of Disguise. And he's kind of a mercenary that works with Cobra, but he's actually the leader of the team, the Dreadnoks. And they've actually got like their own little Dreadnok logo on the top here rather than the Cobra logo. So you get some nice artwork here on the side. And some more artwork here as well. You see him with his kind of famously bearded face disguise. He's had that thing since the original figure back in the 80s. You see the mask there that will store in his backpack, but it should also tuck in over top of his face, which is, you know, just a really cool little feature. So yeah, not much else to say about the packaging. I'm just really stoked to get this Zartan. So let's pop him open and take a look at him. So here is Zartan outside of the packaging, and he looks great. So lots of really cool sculpted detail in this guy as well. So he's very reminiscent of the vintage figure, except they really do take it like up a couple of levels with the sculpted detail. And you'll see that as I bring out the original figure. So like for example, Zartan has always had a hood, but on the original figure it was just kind of a solid, smooth brown piece of plastic. Where over here it's got different textures, like it looks like that's made of snake skin. You can see some of the stitching in the hood here. Just that it comes to this little point, and it's got the wrinkles and the folds. Like just all very cool details. He's got the kind of classic Zartan eye makeup on, which looks really cool. Now the hood is removable. And you can see he's got a bald head under there, which is not something you could do with the vintage figure or most of the Zartan figures. I think it only really became common knowledge that he was bald maybe with the live action movies when Arnold Vosloo was playing him. But before that, it was always kind of mysterious as to what he looked like under there. So he's got this kind of Mad Max inspired chest armor with the exposed abs, which is kind of corny, but it's pretty classic for Zartan. He's got his backpack. You You can see he's got some things plugged into his belt here. So he's got a sheath with a knife that can come out. So this is just a solid, I'm having a little trouble there. It's a solid black knife. It does come out of there, but it's kind of struggling right now. But trust me, so that comes out. These two attachments I had to plug into his belt myself, but you see there he's got like a head of a rattlesnake, and he's got a monkey's paw. So those are very cool little details to have there hanging off of his belt. And then he's got the armor. He's got the leg armor, which is permanently attached, which I'm glad to see. That was removable in past versions. I think it was supposed to help with his Master of Disguise. So when he wasn't Zartan, he would take these armor off. But I tend to like lose them. They tend to fall off the other versions. So I'm glad that they are permanently attached this time around. And then Zartan's kind of main thing with him being the Master of Disguise is his backpack pops open. And he's got that face in there. And the way the mask is sculpted inside, it kind of looks like maybe he was cooking this thing up like they do in the Mission Impossible movies. So that's kind of a cool feature. And the mask fits pretty snugly on his face. And it looks pretty good. Now I don't know who he's fooling with he's got no pupils in his eyes, and you know, obviously he's still wearing Zartan's clothes. But the face does fit on there pretty good. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. So now let's bring out a couple other old Zartans just for comparison. So here's the original vintage Zartan. So you can see the similarities, but you can see what I'm talking about with the lack of detail. The hood, it's got some sculpted wrinkles, but really it doesn't have any of that texture or any of the stitching. The armor, it's pretty simple. The pants, you can see the holes where the little armor pieces are supposed to clip in and they always fall out. Now he's got a backpack, and similarly it opens up, and there's the bearded face in there. And how this worked is, since the hood didn't come off of this figure, you just kind of had to tuck it into the folds of the hood, and there you go. So that was him in disguise. Now, just as a little complaint, I was trying to put this guy on a G.I. Joe display stand because I wasn't sure if he'd be able to stand up on his own. So just while I was trying to get him to do that for this video, I ended up shattering his heel. So that's a real bummer for my vintage Zartan figure. I just broke him. But anyway, there you go. Here's like a 2000s version of Zartan. So I think it's the exact same sculpt on the body. And he's got the same little shin guards. One of them is missing again. This guy, again, the hood is stuck on, but it's a different head sculpt. It looks a little bit more like the cartoon, I would say. The colors are a lot lighter on this guy, but I do like this figure. And there was a bunch of versions of Zartan in the modern line, but this one here happens to be my favorite. I feel it's like the most classic looking and just has a really nice sculpt. I like the way the hood sits on this guy's head. And same idea, same kind of backpack. He's got two faces. He actually has a Storm Shadow face, which is kind of cool. But then, of course, he has the... oh, no, he doesn't have the classic bearded face. He's got Storm Shadow and a Duke face. And to be honest, that makes more sense. If he was going to try and sneak in anywhere, I think he would rather a Duke face than just some random bearded guy's face. But anyway, they've always kept that same gimmick with Zartan of him carrying a mask around in his backpack. So there you go. There is the G.I. Joe Classified Zartan. Another great figure that I highly recommend. So now let's take a look at Cobra Commander. Now with this figure, I actually forgot to film him inside the box, which I usually do with these figures. And it's a shame because this guy had one of the cooler boxes. Most of these G.I. Joe Classified figures have all come in the standard kind of window box that you've seen at retail, like those Cobra Troopers and like Zartan were in. But this guy had a really unique box because he was an exclusive from Hasbro Pulse's website. So I should still be able to show it to you. I kept the box. But yeah, you won't get to see it with the figure inside. But so here is, here's the packaging. So see, it says Snake Supreme Cobra Commander. Some really nice artwork on there. Very detailed, the Cobra head, Cobra Commander in the front there. Some really detailed stuff on the side, on the back. So a really unique box for this guy. And then the sleeve slides off the top. And then you've got this really detailed box inside with this Cobra logo on there. And then when you wanted the figure out, you open it up like this, and the figure was exposed inside the box. So yeah, very, very cool, very unique packaging. So yep, sorry I forgot to shoot a video with him inside of the box, but there you go. So let's talk about the figure. So if you've got the previous Cobra Commander figure, this is the exact same as far as the sculpting goes. So all those details on the boots, on the pants there, you see that like kind of snake texture. He's got the sheath for his sword. He's got the same sword, so it's got the kind of cobra head on top there, and the sword comes out, although it's in there pretty tight, so I don't want to mess with it too much. Except this one's got a gold blade. You can see the blade of the sword sticking at the bottom, where the previous one had like a silver blade. He's got the holster for a little gold pistol, which comes out of there. Top of it. So there you go. Little pistol, which is reminiscent of Cobra Commander's classic gun. Yeah, so everything, that's all the same, all the sculpting. I'll bring out the other Cobra Commanders just so you can see. Yep. Take it easy there. So here is the original retail release of Cobra Commander in the dark blue. So again, you can see all those details, all the same. This Cobra Commander had kind of that little half cape hanging off the back of his shoulder there, and that's sculpted in plastic. So then we got a repaint of that figure in what they call the regal colors. So again, the exact same. He's got the half cape, but everything else there, the sheath, the snake print down the side of the legs, the kind of fancy shoes. So that's all there. So those figures are the same, and they had the same accessories, which were some alternate hands, the sword, and the gun. So what we get with this new Cobra Commander is, for one, a very elaborate deco. Like if you look at that chest piece, that's the pattern that we were seeing on the box. So that's a very detailed paint job there. So very nice. You get that same kind of thing on the legs. And then probably the biggest obvious difference you're seeing there is the cape. So this is a cape with, it goes over both arms. It's got these elastic bits. So you can take this off. It is removable. But it's got a really nice snake-like texture on the cape. And it's soft goods, so you can fold it and move it around, and it flows really nice. So yeah, it doesn't have any wires in it or anything, so you can't pose it per se. But it does hang really nice, and if you really wanted to get creative and maybe add a wire or something, you could get some cool poses for some photography. Now for accessories, he's got the pointing hand, which I think I'm going to keep the pointing hand on this figure because I really love that hand, but I changed it out on these guys so they could hold their gun. But with this guy, I'm going to keep the pointing hand. But he does have alternate hands as well. So he's got the this kind of open hand, and he's got the gripping hand, which is what those guys are holding their guns with. But for other accessories, so you'll see here, this guy's got a Cobra scepter with a little head in there. So I had him holding that for a while, so that's pretty cool. But again, you have to, unfortunately, his only holding hand is on his right hand. So I either have to choose between this or the pointing hand. But with that hand, I can change out the fist for this gripping hand. And one cool thing he comes with here is this little gold version of the globe of planet Earth. So I think that's directly from some G.I. Joe artwork where he's holding like a globe in his hands and kind of plotting, you know, where he's going to attack next once he conquers the world or whatever. So that's a really cool little accessory. So the cape, the globe, the scepter, and the new paint job, I think definitely makes it worth picking this guy up. I don't know, I would recommend you need both of these guys unless you're a hardcore Joe fan. One or the other will probably suffice. But yeah, even if you have both of those or one of those, I think this guy is worth getting too. I think the repaint, it doesn't just feel like a blatant cash grab. Like they actually put some real work into this repaint. Now, as far as bringing out some old Cobra Commanders to show you, I have a ton of Cobra Commanders. I'll just bring out a couple of them that kind of relate to this one. So first off, this is the original 1983 Cobra Commander. So this is him in his battle helmet, which is what we're seeing on all of these figures here. Cobra Commander has two distinct looks. He has the battle helmet and the hood, which you'll see the hood here in a minute. Now, hopefully he stands up. I wanted to put him on a display base, but after breaking my Zartan, I'm being a little bit more careful. But, so that's the very first one. All the other ones that I brought out here are all from the modern line. And you'll see here that even though Cobra Commander is most associated with this kind of blue costume, either with the battle helmet or with the hood, he does change up his look quite a bit. So here is the first modern version of this Cobra Commander. So this came out in like 2007. And it wasn't long before they repainted that. And we got a hooded version. We also got a black version. So same figure, just with the black with some gold accents. So you can see this guy is definitely being part of the inspiration for that figure that we have there. Then we did get a couple of versions of hooded Cobra Commanders, but the one that I chose to bring out is this one here, because this one, it kind of shows you an inspiration for that Regal Cobra Commander in that he's got the gold highlights, and this is the first time that he's actually got a cloth cape. So that definitely played in as an inspiration for this new figure. That hooded Cobra Commander, this one doesn't have a cape, but we did get it repainted in black. So again, you'll see some of that inspiration there. Let's see some other versions. Here's a version from this is actually from the 2000s. So this came out before all these modern ones I just showed you. So this is a 2001, and this one really kind of looks like the one we're looking at now, the Supreme Cobra Supreme version, except this has got the hood instead of the battle helmet. But if this one had a battle helmet with a gold plate, that would look like really close to that figure. So we got that one there. And another one from the 2000s era is this one that I brought out. So this is a red Cobra Commander, and he has got an elaborate cloth cape as well, with kind of a nice pattern on the back there. So I think this guy definitely played in some inspiration for the new figure as well. A couple other ones. So here's Cobra Commander from the live action movie, and this doesn't necessarily match up with his appearance in the live action movie, but it's kind of close. And so that came out in blue, and in typical Cobra Commander fashion, they quickly followed that up with a black version. Here's a really nice new version. I think they called this the Ultimate Cobra Commander with that reflective chrome. This was a modern era version, basically an update to this one, which wasn't very good. So they took another stab at it in the blue, and sure enough, we got it later in black with some red. So again, this is probably the one I have that's closest to that version there, because he's got the black, the gold Cobra logo, the red. And another one that I wanted to bring out is the Cobra Commander from the Resolute cartoon. This is a favorite of mine. It was kind of an updated look for him. It's a little more fancy with the flowing cape. And so I liked this one a lot. And then they gave us this same figure in black, red, and gold sometime later. So this guy is also very close. This is perhaps the closest thing I've got to a 3 3/4 inch version of the new Cobra Commander. So anyway, very cool. I like all these figures. As far as Cobra Commanders go in the classified line, I think this one is probably my favorite to date. But I am looking forward to getting a hooded version of Cobra Commander eventually as well. So there you go. There is Cobra Commander. So next up we have Arctic Mission Storm Shadow. So this guy looks pretty cool. So as with all these classified figures, there's lots of nice sculpted detail. They take kind of classic designs and then just kind of crank them up, make them a little better, a little fancier, a little more color, a little more detail, a little more articulation. And so yeah, we get a really cool Storm Shadow with this figure here. I don't have a whole lot to talk about with this guy. He's got the same articulation as everybody else, double jointed, knees and elbows and all that sort of stuff. He moves really well. He looks really good. What's frustrating about this figure, though, is that we even got it this early in the line. Like, I'd be fine with them releasing this figure later, but everybody associates Storm Shadow with either version 1 or version 2. The first figure of Storm Shadow that ever came out was just this typical like white ninja, which I kind of showed you in the introduction. So yeah, that first figure when Storm Shadow was a Cobra, he was a bad guy, and he was just a white ninja, and he looked really cool. That's the figure probably most people wanted to see in the classified version. Then version 2 of Storm Shadow is when he became a good guy and he switched over to G.I. Joe. And then that's when he first got the hood and he had that kind of urban gray camo. That's also a very popular look, and maybe people would have liked an update to that. And Hasbro probably could have used this same figure and just painted it like that, and people probably would have been pretty stoked. But instead, what they've done here is given us version 3 of Storm Shadow, the Ninja Force version, which didn't come out until like the 90s. And a lot of classic Joe fans like myself weren't even buying G.I. Joe figures anymore into the 90s. So I don't really have much of an attachment to this Ninja Force look. It is his third most popular look. So yeah, I just don't know why this would be the first Storm Shadow that they would give us. And when it was first shown, like a year ago, it was an Amazon exclusive. And I pre-ordered it from Amazon like within minutes of it going up on sale. And it sat for months saying that, this item will ship eventually. And then Amazon canceled my order. And that sucked because I thought, like the Cobra Island figures, this was going to be another figure that I would never own unless I wanted to really shell out the big bucks. So yeah, I didn't think I was ever going to get this figure, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm sure they're going to release a more classic-looking Storm Shadow eventually. And I really am surprised that in the year since this figure was revealed, they still have not told us that they're giving us a classic Storm Shadow. Now, we did see the movie Storm Shadow, which kind of looks like a classic Storm Shadow, but it still isn't quite right. I would like an update to the original Storm Shadow look. So anyway, this figure, I was able to get it because somebody on Facebook tipped me off that Amazon UK still had it in stock. So I ordered it from Amazon. I didn't have to go on eBay and buy it from a third-party seller where I would have been paying a huge markup. But by buying it from the UK, I did have to pay the markup to turn the euro to the Canadian dollar, and I also had to pay quite a lot of shipping. And this figure ended up costing me about $60, which is about twice the price of a regular figure. So even though I didn't get totally taken to the cleaners, I did have to pay quite a bit more for a figure that I wasn't super excited about because it's not my favorite version of Storm Shadow. I don't have the original Ninja Force version of Storm Shadow. Like I said, I wasn't collecting Joes at that time. And even though I have, as an adult collector, gone back and acquired a lot of 90s Joes, I did not get the Ninja Force Storm Shadow. The closest thing I do have is in the modern era of G.I. Joe. They released this update, so you can see the similarities there. This one's a lot simpler, a lot less sculpted detail, and also a lot less painted detail. He's very simple. But that's essentially what this figure is based on. So here he is without his hood. And so that just can fit back over top of his head. So besides the hood, he has a couple other accessories. You can see here he's holding some bladed weapon that's just sculpted in solid white. Here he's got a sword, which has got a silver blade and a white hilt. He's got the sheath for his sword, and he's also got a quiver full of arrows. And this plugs into that. They're not necessarily stuck together. You could plug this directly into his back, but I like that they gave you the option to do both. So that's kind of how I've chosen to display him. So with those items, he's pretty stacked. He does have a couple of other items that I don't have room to store on him, but he's got a bow. He's also got a singular arrow. And he has this grappling hook with a rope. So quite a bit of stuff. And this is a cool figure. I do like it, but I do hope that we get one of the other two versions of Storm Shadow, or both of them, really. I hope we get those eventually. But anyway, this guy here, not too bad. Now here's a quick look at Flint inside of the packaging. So from the front, and then there's some nice little artwork down here in the corner, and some more artwork down the side. So next we're going to take a look at Flint. Now these last two figures I just got this week. Some of these other figures I've had sitting around for a month or more. But yeah, these guys here are pretty much hot off the presses. I ordered them from Big Bad Toy Store. So yeah, Flint, he looks pretty good. Right off the bat I'll say this is an awesome figure, except I don't love the face. But like as far as like the body goes, I assume this probably uses some reused parts from Duke. Maybe I'll bring him out for a comparison. But like where I see that watch, right away I think the arms must be reused from Duke. And I wouldn't be surprised seeing the shin guards again. Some of the legs might already be reused from Duke and stuff as well. But that's fine, as long as it looks good and looks like the character that it's supposed to be representing. Reused parts is, it's par for the course. They've been doing that since day one of G.I. Joe. So, but yeah, the sculpting looks great. I think the body looks great. I love the shotgun shells on the body armor, the rolled up sleeves. He's got a pistol here, holstered on his leg, and that comes out of there. Although they fit in there pretty good. Sometimes they're hard to get out. There we go. So just a little pistol, nothing special. Plugs in there. He's got this thing on his back that he can store his shotgun in there, which is pretty cool. So like I said, with his face, I don't love his face. Like it's well done. It seems like he's kind of smirking, which I don't love. He's also got kind of a big nose, I feel, which I don't love. But at least it makes him unique. Like these guys don't all look like carbon copies of one another, which is pretty cool. Now he does have a scar across his eye. I'm not sure why. I don't think Flint has typically had a scar. I think he might have in the Devil's Due run. But yeah, it's typically not associated with Flint. Now he's got his beret, his trademark beret. But what's really great about this figure is that the hat comes off, and he's got a really great haircut sculpted under there. That looks really good. I'm almost tempted to display this figure without the hat. I actually think it might look better without the hat. The hat looks good, but I just really like the hair. So yeah, really good stuff. And his trademark accessory, of course, is his shotgun. Flint always has a shotgun. It looks good. It's got some different sculpted parts and different paint apps on the shell and on the stock there. So that's all really well done. So I grabbed my Duke here just so we can do some comparisons. So the shin guards are different. But it might just be the shin guard that's different. Looks like the pants, yeah, the pouch on the leg and everything. I think he's got the same pants. The arms, yeah, they might be the same. It's kind of hard to tell because it doesn't even look like Flint has shoulder pads because it's painted black and just kind of matches with his shirt. Whereas Duke's got like 3 or 4 different paint apps on his shoulder pads to really make it stand out. But yeah, it looks like that's the same arm because they've got the same watch. Yeah, actually, I'm just noticing that Duke only has 1 shoulder pad, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so those are probably pretty similar. I think the chest piece is probably the same too, the way the folded collar looks on the shirt. But Flint looks a little bit different because he's got this body armor over top. So yeah, a lot of shared pieces with Duke, but that's fine. It looks good on Flint. Now let's bring out some old Flints and just see how it compares to some of his more classic looks. So here he is with the original 1985 Flint. And you can see the similarities. They've got the camo pants, the black shirt with the green straps with the shotgun shells, the black beret. Looks pretty close. Now I can't mess around with my Flint too much because unfortunately he's broken. It's just the elastic that has snapped. I could replace that. That happens with a lot of vintage Joes. But yeah, you can definitely see how this figure was inspired by that one. And he's got kind of a little smirk on his face too, so I guess that's probably why they went with that. However, when I think of Flint, I think of more of how he appeared in the cartoon. And I think I really would like a figure that actually resembles the cartoon more than anything. But yeah, this one does pay a good homage to the classic 85 figure. Now a couple other ones. This is basically a redo of that original Flint. This one's from the early 2000s. So I think it's the exact same body, but with the newly sculpted head. This one it doesn't really look like Flint to me. Like, it's not a bad figure again, but when I think of Flint in the cartoon, this head just doesn't quite match up. But it's not a bad figure, and he's got his shotgun, you see. And then in the modern era, so here's the first stab at the classic Flint look with the camo pants, the shotgun, the black short sleeve shirt, the beret. So yeah, this figure is okay, but the proportions are a little weird. Some of the parts are kind of out of date, but it wasn't a bad first attempt at a modern Flint. My favorite version of Flint is not really wearing his classic colors, but it's this one here. He's got camo pants still has the black top. I really like the turtleneck kind of underneath there. But yeah, this is my favorite Flint figure in my collection. This is from the 50th anniversary. Now, I do have a whole bunch more Flint figures, but these are the ones that probably best represent this look that this figure is trying to present. But the secondary version of Flint that came out in the vintage line was part of Tiger Force, so he had some tiger stripes on his outfit. So I have some versions of that. Also, Flint was later part of Eco Force, and he had a totally different look in like this bright green jumpsuit there. Plus, Flint was also in the second G.I. Joe live action movie. He was played by a guy named, is it DJ Contra? I can't remember. But I have quite a few movie versions of Flint that look like DJ. So lots of good Flint figures out there. And yeah, but this one's really strong. So I do like this classified Flint. Next up is Lady Jaye. So here's a picture of her inside of the packaging, and you'll see some of the artwork that's available on both the front and on the side of the packaging. And I do just want to quickly speak about the back of the box. I didn't mention this with the Cobra Trooper or Zartan, but every time a new figure comes out, they actually do add that character to the art. We've seen it a bunch of times before, but it is being modified with each new wave of figures, which is pretty cool. So this is the last classified figure we're going to look at today. This is Lady Jaye. She shipped out in the same wave as Flint, which is appropriate since they were always a couple in the G.I. Joe comic books and cartoons. So yeah, this is a really nice Lady Jaye figure. And I don't know, she probably shares some parts with Scarlet, to be honest with you. We could compare them, but I'm going to guess right now probably she shares the same legs as Scarlet and maybe some other parts. But overall, this is just a really great Lady Jaye. It's very, evocative of the original Lady Jaye release. And yeah, I would say this is easily the best Lady Jaye figure that we've ever gotten. Because she was always a character that I really loved. She had a really great characterization on the cartoon show. She was featured very heavily in the show. So yeah, it's really nice to get a nice new version of her. Now, just to compare to some previous Lady Jayes we've got. So here is the vintage Lady Jaye. So even though I loved this figure and I loved this character when I was a kid, I have to be honest, like, her face is, not very attractive or anything like that. Most of the vintage G.I. Joe figures did not have very attractive faces. So I always kind of imagined her in my mind's eye that she looked like she did on the cartoon. So I never really understood why the toy had this ball cap on, but she never wore the ball cap in the cartoon. They were pretty different looks. So, yeah, there you go. This was a good figure for what it was back in the day. And I didn't even try. She's got really wobbly legs. I don't think she'll stand up on her own. And I'm not even going to try to... oh, there she goes. I'm not even going to try and put her on a display base because, man, I'm having bad luck today. Here's a Lady Jaye from the early 2000s. And I tried to put her on a base and I cracked her foot too. That's 2 Joes in the past half an hour. That sucks. Anyway, this Lady Jaye I really like. It uses the exact same body from the vintage figure, except they went with a head that then they tried to make her much prettier. it's still, I don't know if I would say this figure is pretty, but it's prettier than that one. And I like that they gave her a a head with no hat, which is closer to the cartoon. So yeah, this was a pretty strong figure for the 2000s. Now in the modern line, we've got a bunch of different versions of her. Here is one of the first. Now you can see how it, she's got the green jumpsuit with the open collar. This one here, I think Hasbro got a little bit of flack for giving her a lot of cleavage, because you can see the vintage figure. She's got an open collar, but she definitely does not have cleavage like this one does. So yeah, that was kind of an odd choice. The figure's okay, but you see they went back to giving her ball cap. So there we go there. Then we got another version that was based more on her cartoon look. So still got quite a bit of cleavage there. And she doesn't have a hat on. But again, the lack of painted lips and stuff, she looks very boyish. It's not a great figure as far as the head sculpt goes and the paint job. But I really like that they gave her all of her different, not trick arrows so much. She has this javelin, and that's been with her for every version of the figure. And in the cartoon, she would put different heads on the javelin, kind of like Hawkeye's arrows and stuff. So she'd have one that would be a net, and one that would be gas, and one that would be an explosive. So yeah, this was really cool as far as it matching up with the cartoon. Now, even though the 50th anniversary of Flint ended up being my favorite, I would not say the same of the 50th version of Lady Jaye. It's got a lot of potential. Like you see, it's got that classic suit. It's the right colors. It's got a lot of nice sculpted details, wrinkles and stuff. But man, the head here, it's just the way the eyes are painted. The way it's this really sloppy paint job. She's got this brown on her chin. She's got flesh tone in her hair. She just kind of looks messed up. This figure had potential. But yeah, just because of the paint job, it really kind of botched it for me. So as you can see, I haven't had a great Lady Jaye figure. These are most of them. I think the only one I didn't bother to bring out for this is the movie version. Lady Jaye, like Flint, was featured in the second live-action movie, G.I. Joe Retaliation. And she was played by Adrienne Palicki. And I don't know how they thought that this figure looked like Adrienne Palicki, but it is probably my least favorite Lady Jaye figure. So yeah, after the kind of botched 50th version and the Retaliation version, it's really nice to now get a classic Lady Jaye in her kind of classic version 1 cartoon colors and all that sort of stuff. So let's get these guys out of here and take a closer look at the figure. So you can see for her accessories, she's got a knife that sheaths on her belt. It doesn't have a pistol or anything. But this here, the gun, it's actually, the spear comes out. So you have the option of letting her use this kind of launching spear gun, or you can just have her hold onto the spears and chuck them directly like she did in the cartoon. Whereas this is modeled more after the vintage gun. She's so loose she can't hold her arm up. But see, the spears were always launched through a gun here, and they weren't a separate piece on the vintage figure. So it's really cool that you have the option to make it look like she's got this spear gun, or she can just hold the spear. And the heads of these spears are removable. So this one here, I've got kind of just the standard spear head on there, but that can come off. I don't want to mess with it and break it, but I promise it does. She has a second spear here. You can see it's just got the little knob. And on the back of her backpack, which is removable, she has this kind of like GoPro camera, which has this kind of articulated arm, which is kind of neat. That's a new function for Lady Jaye. And when you take the pack off, you can see she's got two different heads for the spears that you can store inside of there. So there's another bladed head of the spear, and then this one here, I guess, would maybe be like the gas, one that releases a gas or a net or something like that. So that's pretty cool that she can store those right on her pack. Now the coolest thing about this figure is the last accessory, which is some hair. So there's probably fans that wanted this figure to look like their vintage figure with the hat, but they know there's just as many people that probably want it to look like the cartoon without the hat. And if they'd given us a hat that fit over top of the hair, it probably would have been a big bulky hat and it probably would have looked weird. So they went with this option. The hat and the hair are sculpted together as one piece, and they just lift right off like so. And so then she looks pretty weird without it. But then they gave us a separate hair piece, and it's to resemble her cartoon look. And it looks pretty great, and it fits on there really well. So you've got that option of having the hair or the hat. And I really can't decide which one I like best. I thought before I was going to display her like this, but I actually quite like the hat head as well. So, yeah, Lady Jaye here, this is a really strong figure. She was one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters, so I'm really pleased with this figure. Okay, so that is Wave 3 and 4, Wave 3, Wave 2.5, I don't know. Those are my newest G.I. Joe classified figures. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, by the way, I passed my 1,000 subscribers since I did my last video, so that's really cool. So thank you to the 1,000 of you that have subscribed. So yeah, please continue to do so. And yeah, leave me comments below. I'm always happy to chat with you guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Ciao.